Tansei, my name is Carly Morrisseau. I'm a BFA honors student graduating from Brandon University. My major is in drawing and I have a minor in Native Studies. I did a lot of my work focusing on the language and in particular Cree syllabics, which is the written form of the Cree language. My exhibition is titled Nitanayan Kipit Ota, which means we're still here in Cree. The series itself is 21 images and it's called Continuum. So it represents my past, my present, and my future as an individual and as an Indigenous artist. For the very first 7 pieces, I focused on it documenting my past. This very first image, it's about my memories of the land and in particular, my memory of being up north. This is actually an image of a place called Little Limestone Lake. And I have just a lot of fond memories of being there. And, I just remember standing on the shoreline and looking into the distance, and it just went on forever, And I would just remember thinking that I was staring off into infinity. Our planet is so blue in the first place because of water, and water is life. And so I use blue throughout most of the pieces to represent my past and that connection to the land. And so the second piece is also tied to Little Limestone Lake, and just my memory of standing in the water and the water being so crystal clear and blue, it just felt more like a dream rather than a memory. I have this next piece where, I was more focused on the fact that it was dealing with my memories of being in Moose Lake, which is my mom's home community, and just playing in the tall grass with my cousins and making places for us to hide and play. I also have a lot of fond memories of traveling up north to visit my grandparents who are from Grand Rapids. And so this particular image shows the bridge leading into Grand Rapids. I remember having these fond memories of, being able to see the stars at night and looking up at the sky and seeing how clear they were, and just having that memory really stuck with me. And so I wanted to document that. This next image is also about the past and having this connection to camping in particular, because I remember staying in these wood cabins up north and just tracing the patterns of these logs, and just seeing that between the logs, a bit of the nature would kind of push through. I just thought that was very vivid, so I wanted to also document that. Also traveling and being outside and being in the bush, I guess, and looking up into the tree line and just seeing how thick it was. There's this long stretch of highway from the Pod to Thompson that I remember traveling down and looking into the distance and seeing this skyline of trees. And if you are traveling, to Thompson, I think it's about 6 hours of just trees upon trees as you're traveling down the highway. And then these next 4 pieces are kind of documenting, the present for me. These beading pieces are actually inspired by my late grandmother, Matilda. She was a very talented beader, and before she passed away, she had these designs that she made on paper, and she never got to finish to work on them, but my auntie saved them. I took the designs and I sort of kind of recreated them myself through this digital format, and I kind of view it as a collaboration between me and her, and just honoring her artistic eye for things. The Cree word for heart is mite, and then the Cree word for tongue is mitanani. And so mite is basically a base word, right? And so that base word is connected to the tongue of mitanani, right? And so when you're speaking from the heart. So you got to make sure that you're speaking truth. Hearing that about the language and just like knowing that there's just a lot of teachings in the language just made me think how the future is really in the language. And like, you know, I really want to be able to learn it and like, you know, pass that down. And then this next piece is kind of like a self-portrait. It's kind of like a recreation of a previous work I did for my profile images on like different social media websites. And this is kind of more about kind of like the many different faces I have as an artist. Then this next image is also kind of more about the way I kind of drawn myself over the years, you know, very abstract, very to the point of realistic too, and just asking this question of like, what am I gonna be drawing myself moving forward looking like, you know? These final images are kind of documenting, you know, the future for me. And for the future, I kind of chose the color of pink. This image right here is, I have the saying of Nitanai and Kipuk Ota on my back, and how I kind of want to carry the language moving forward. I also started thinking about how the language would be like involved in modern spaces and how I would want that to look like. And so these next 4 images kind of like detail that, in that, you know, this is a sidewalk, a stop sign, me on the bus, and then like graffiti, right? That's something I want to do moving forward too, is like have syllabics in these modern spaces. This very last image kind of ties to the very first image, how I'm looking off into the distance of the sky, where I'm staring off into the infinite space, and this idea of continuum of, you know, documenting this, my past, present, and future. And like, even though like it's very linear, I feel like there's a cyclical nature to it, where it connects from the very first image to the very last image. Just combining the traditional of the language with the contemporary, which is, you know, digital media. And moving forward, that's what I want to do. So thank you.